spider can. Spins a web any size. Catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man. Is he strong? Listen, bud. He's got radioactive blood. Can he swing from a thread? Take a look overhead. Hey there goes the Spider-Man. In the chill of night, at the scene of a crime, like a streak of light, he arrives just in time. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Wealth and fame, he's ignored. Action is his reward to him. Life is a great big bang. Wherever there's a hang, you'll find a Spider-Man.
Welcome back to the White House Series podcast. I'm your host, Brandon. We have Devin and Mike as usual, and we're back with the movie review. So, of course, we have Rashanii, and it's the MCU movie, so Big Mike came out of the cave. So, what's going on tonight, fellas?
I think we should start with Big Mike because, you know, you made him sound the most important. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I think Big Mike is very important, too, especially when it comes to MCU. I cede all statements and thoughts to him directly. Yo, Big Mike, he meant you. What's happening?
What's going on, guys? I could come on for non-MCU movies. I guess Mike just doesn't like having me on.
That is not
Yeah,
true.
that is on Mike.
That
Is on Mike.
is not true.
He doesn't even tell you about the other things that we're doing. He doesn't care.
That's true.
I mean, that's why you don't know that Mike's going to own a sex robot really soon.
I never said I was going to own a sex robot. This is the new theme of this show, I swear.
What, shitting on Mike? I'm pretty sure that's not new.
No, I meant sex robots.
Yeah, that has been, the last 2 weeks. We are here to review Spider-Man Far From Home, and like all our reviews, of course, there's spoilers. I had people reach out to me and say that we spoil stuff without warning sometimes, and so
you did put that
understand
disclaimer. Yeah,
I understand. I used to put the disclaimer, then I just stopped, and then I realized I forgot that, like, you know, you get new listeners every month, and so some people didn't know what we used to do. So we will be spoiling this movie, but following the events of Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man must step up to take on new threats in a world that has changed forever. This was directed by John Watts, starring Tom Holland, Sam Jackson, Jake Gyllenhaal, Zendaya, Jon Favreau, Marissa Tomei, etc., etc. All right, let's start with Rashanii. What'd you think of this film?
I saw it twice so far.
And
I bet you think that's going to make me say this film was, like, amazing and all that good stuff. And it was good. It was good, but I thought the first one was better. I put this one right alongside Doctor Strange in movies that were good but weren't, like, oh my God moments. There were moments in it where I was like, this is what I was looking for, but by and large, I think it's because, to quote Denny Green, Mysterio is who we thought he was.
exactly.
And so that entire first part, we're just waiting for Mysterio to screw him over. Like, And then the more I watched it, the more I realized the syndrome was Mysterio. And so then I started thinking about The Incredibles. And then I started comparing stuff to movies that I saw. And this movie, like, honestly, Zendaya was the MVP of this movie.
Yes.
Or else Jake Gyllenhaal, like, he did a really good job too. Honestly, he was really good. But he's always good. Like, low key, he's always good in his movies. But the laughs were, maybe it was the theater I was in. Right, I went on Tuesday and then I went again on Saturday, and in both theaters, I was literally the only person in the theater laughing, and that just
that's weird.
Yeah, like, it was a quiet theater, and that'll change the whole complex of a movie.
Damn.
Whole frame of a movie. It was good.
Hold on.
Let's go to the next person.
Hold on.
And Spider-Man's my favorite superhero, like one of them. So I'm literally sad to say that it was good.
Did you know that Jake Gyllenhaal was in the "Blame It on the Alcohol" music video?
No. Which part?
Hold on. Get the fuck out of here.
I'm looking at his credits, and it says Jamie Foxx featuring T-Pain, "Blame It."
I'm going to find it.
He was also in
find it, and
Jay-Z.
then
He was also in Jay-Z featuring Beyonce Part 2 on the Run video. Hold on, what is going on here?
What is going? Yeah, who the fuck is Jake Gyllenhaal now? Like,
well, Jake Gyllenhaal is the
Mike,
person I wanted to be Batman, by the way, in Marvel.
Yeah, that would have been great.
Now it's not going to happen, but I thought he would have been great as Batman. Big Mike, what'd you think?
I thought it was really good. Like, kind of walking out of that movie, I've kind of felt this with, like, Captain Marvel and a couple of the other recent films. Like, this is, I guess, what we can get used to for, like, the new standard for the Marvel movies.
Okay.
Like, this is not like it is a floor, but, like, this is the new standard. Like, I don't think Marvel's gotten so big and so popular and so good by now that there's not going to be any, like, that one just kind of sucked. Like, they're all going to be, unless, like, at least all the standalone movies are going to be just good quality movies that are very entertaining. And then obviously, like, the big collaborations and bigger movies are going to be the holy shit, that was amazing kind of stuff.
And I mean, if that's the standard that you're going to get, I'm fine with this being.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everything can't be Avengers Endgame. Because if everything's Avengers Endgame, then there's no Avengers Endgame.
And I think that's what it was, is that this one came. No, that wasn't it. I'm not even getting it a pass like that.
Yeah, no, and I thought it was very, very good. I mean, I thought it was really funny. Our theater, we saw it opening night. Our theater was laughing at all the jokes and seemed really, really into it. So, I just thought it was a good quality movie. Like, I think those days of, like, Thor: Dark World and, for me, Iron Man 3 are kind of done. So
yeah, we're not.
I'm glad you said that, because nobody else ever seemed to hate Iron Man 3 or dislike Iron Man 3.
Oh, we shitted on that movie. Oh my god,
that was my least favorite. That's like, bottom of the barrel for me.
Yeah, it made no sense to me how bad that movie was.
And I will say this though. It's hard. I don't think Marvel's made any bad movies. When I say bad movies, I mean, like, Rashanii and I have done a lot of movie reviews in the last couple of years. We've seen some bad movies.
We've seen some stuff, yeah.
We've seen some bad movies. We've seen, and outside of our movie reviews, we've seen some bad like superhero movies. None of the MCU movies are, like, I don't think any of the MCU movies were Venom. Not a single one of them were as bad as Venom. Not even close to as bad as Venom was. I don't think a single one of them was bad as Suicide Squad. Or
a guy that I used to hang out with put it as succinctly as possible. Like, okay, Marvel has been around for 10 years. And in that time, they put out umpteen movies, and the only bad ones you can really think of off the top of your head are Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, and Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah.
Everything else has been at least a B to a B.
I don't know.
Yeah, a bad MCU movie is a 6.5. Like, I wouldn't say I would not say Thor: Dark World is like a 3 or a 4 or a 5. It's like a 6. It's like a 6.5, 6. Yeah, like Thor: Dark World is not like a 3. Like, Iron Man 3 had some stupid parts that didn't make any sense. Iron Man 3 was not like a 4 out of 10. It wasn't like that. No. It was like a 6 out of 10, maybe 6.5. But, like, these other movies we watch, like, we've given out 2s, 3s. When we did the retro review for Fantastic Four, that was like a 2. Like, we did, like, those are bad movies. And so I think the gift and the curse of what they've done is that they've set the bar so high that, like, sometimes, you know, they're going to make a movie that's just a 7.5 out of 10. And for people like Rashanii and us, and everyone, I didn't mean call Rashanii out, but people like us would be like, yeah, that's a good movie. It was fine for what it was. But for, like, a lot of people, you know, the nerds that we see on the internet, they're going to be like, oh, that movie was so bad. It was so horrible. I can't believe, you know, and all that stuff, because, you know, they're so used to such high quality that they kind of bite themselves in the foot. Mike, what'd you think?
I liked it a lot better than I liked Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Me too, Mike. Thank you.
I also didn't like Spider-Man: Homecoming that much. Yeah, not at all.
I actually I was home by myself July 4th, and I watched it again. And it was kind of the same sort of I like this one better, but it was good.
See, the reason I didn't like Homecoming and I like this better is because in Homecoming, he's never like swinging around the city. He doesn't do any Spider-Man stuff. He's totally dependent, which I get. So now that he has the character development where he's self-sufficient, he did everything I wanted him to except for like be in New York. I don't know why in the MCU they love taking him out of New York City in the MCU. I don't know why.
The character isn't there yet. We're like, he's not there as far as they have to
what
get
Mike
the
is
bad
saying.
taste
Mike
of
wants him to
people.
be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah, he keeps talking about being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Like, bro, you're never in the neighborhood. You're like all over the place.
I'm kind of cool with that though. I've kind of just gotten so desensitized. Maybe it's because I'm from New York, where it's just like, why do you gotta blow up the city every single movie? Like,
it's popular.
I was ready for a change. I mean, I hope they come back to it and do just more straight Spider-Man stuff.
I think they will, but like, I think it's because they are just so terrified of repeating anything from the original movies.
That's what I'm trying to say.
They're being too different about it.
True.
Like, put him back in New York. I don't care about the cast or anything.
I mean, it's gonna happen, but
the only things I want.
No, but you we'll talk about it. But you saw the after credit scene, so we know what the next movie is going to be. Or at least we have an idea of what the next movie is going to be.
right.
And that's going to be more of what you're talking. But that's a valid concern.
I mean,
I've heard a lot of people say
I know our other roommate is afraid that Sony's gonna hold him after the contract is over.
Well, yeah, they can do whatever they want, but they would be stupid. They would be ridiculously stupid to be like, you know what, Marvel, we kind of want to do this on our own. Like, Marvel, it doesn't get a penny from this film. None of it. All the money goes to Sony. They get some credits. They get some producers. Like, the people who work for Marvel get paid for working on the film, obviously, and they get some credits for the film. But
they get no box office.
They get
money.
no box office money. It all goes to Sony. So Marvel's essentially just making Sony money hand over fist. And if Sony was going to be like, we want to take Tom Holland and put him in this stupid Venom universe, then they would be morons. Devin, what'd you think?
I enjoyed it way more than I enjoyed Homecoming. The only thing I liked about Homecoming was Michael Keaton. And Michael Keaton being a great villain was the only thing Homecoming really did for me. And Zadana being Mary Jane. This movie was great. I love Spider-Man, the animated series that used to come on Fox. And that's where I was introduced to Mysterio. And the way that they're able to make this comic book and cinematography go together so well, so that everybody can enjoy it. Somebody that hasn't seen, doesn't read comic books, or somebody that doesn't familiar with Spider-Man, they can join in and have all the fun that somebody that reads the comic books and saw the animated series can enjoy it. It was literally my favorite MCU movie, as far as just a whole movie together, not like standalone. Like, as far as this is the reboot of Spider-Man for me. Like, Homecoming was cool, but as far as me getting back to what a Spider-Man movie is, this was great, and I'm excited to what the future holds for Tom Holland as Spider-Man.
And we're gonna have to take a second and talk about all this Homecoming hate that I'm hearing right now.
That's what I was going to say. Because
it doesn't make any sense to me where all this is coming from, all this angst.
Homecoming at all.
Y'all act like Homecoming didn't come after these Spider-Man where Venom got killed by him ringing a bell. Y'all are acting like Homecoming didn't come.
No, you're right.
There are people on Twitter who still say those Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies are better than these two movies. And I'm just like, have y'all watched those two movies? Like, they're not, like, I'm not even talking about the time frame difference. I'm not even saying, the CGI is better. Of course the CGI is better than that. I'm not even talking about that. If you look at the writing of those movies and how the characters are written compared to how Spider-Man is written here, and that's what I was going to bring up for Devin bringing up the animated series. I think what's happening to a lot of people is that a lot of people's familiarity with Spider-Man comes from one of two or three things. Either those Andrew Garfield films, those Tobey Maguire films, or the Spider-Man animated show from the 90s. And those are people's reference points for Spider-Man for the vast majority of a large majority of the audience. And so what you're seeing in Spider-Man Homecoming and in Far From Home is Spider-Man from the comic book, from the original Spider-Man, the Spider-Man from the 60s, late 60s, when he was a teenager and in high school and then going into college. Because all the Spider-Mans we've seen in modern years has been older Peter. We've seen college Peter. We've seen young adult Peter. Even in the Spider-Man animated show, he was out of college. Like, he was already a reporter, like, all of that. Whereas in the original Spider-Man was him in high school, having these relationships, dealing with the kids. Like, and these films are playing on the original Steve Ditko, Stan Lee Spider-Man books. And I've actually read some of those, and it's very true to the character, and it's what got Spider-Man super popular to begin with. And so Marvel's calculation is, we're going to make these movies to get these young people into this character the way that the young people in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s got into Spider-Man, and that way we'll keep building that for a new future. And so you watch these movies from that perspective, it makes total sense because we're not watching grown-up Peter Parker. And so the other thing is, when you watch the Sam Raimi films, Spider-Man is presented as this, like this nerd that everyone picks on, that nobody likes.
I thought he was a good Peter Parker.
Yeah, but he wasn't, because that's not Spider. That's my point, though, right? That's not Spider-Man. Was never that dude. Like, if you watch those films, you would think Spider-Man was just like this outcast, like kind of nerdy kid who didn't have any friends.
People love Peter. Yeah,
Peter had a whole bunch of friends. Peter was just smart. All the hot girls dated Peter. All of them, like in the comic books. Like, Peter was not like this dork that he was presented as in that film. And so a lot of people's reference points are those films, and they watch these films, and it's such a stark contrast. And so they think, oh, those films came first, so that must be what's right. When in reality, what we're seeing now in the MCU is much more closer to the actual character Spider-Man than what we saw in those Sam Raimi films. And those films were fine for their time. But to compare them to Homecoming and Far From Home is pretty insulting. In every
I mean, if you had told me, if y'all had sat there and said, I don't like Homecoming because it wasn't as good as Into the Spider-Verse, you could have had an argument. Mm-hmm. But y'all are literally, wait. Y'all are literally comparing Homecoming to the cartoons, which were able to be as close to comics as possible because they're based on their cartoons. Yeah. This is a reboot that actually makes sense. Like, they're not going into the origin and all that. They're showing him as a kid who literally just wants to be a teenager, but he's forced upon this thing, like, without even having to say, with great power comes great responsibility. You see that in every move he makes in that movie. When he sees Michael Keaton as Liz's dad, I have this movie on digital. I have it on my iPad. I watch it like twice a month, probably. It's my new Scott Pilgrim and Kill Bill. Okay. But when you see the angst in his face, it's like, how do I confront somebody where I'm trying to date their daughter? And you literally see it like, should I just let this go because I like Liz that much? It all plays out perfectly. Tom Holland plays a perfect Spider-Man. And the fact is that the quips, the talking, the everything, that I've never been to New York, but he made New York, he made Queens seem alive in Homecoming. And the characters they had in Homecoming made Queens seem alive. So, by the way, did you know that the owner of the store that got cut in half in Homecoming was also the muscle on Queen of the South? Okay. So it's just, I loved Homecoming. I thought it was incredible.
A bad movie. I liked Homecoming. I'm not like, but I mean, I just enjoyed this movie more than I enjoyed Homecoming.
And I'm fine with that. Yeah, I'm just like, I just.
No, but to act like Homecoming wasn't a good movie.
Oh,
is kind of weird.
Great, yeah.
But like, yeah, I get a lot. Everything. Well, the general consensus is
the only thing I liked about the movie was Michael Keaton and all that. I was like, wait, what? Like, do we see the same movie?
The general consensus
is because the last movie that came out before this had Dennis Leary in it.
Yeah, well, that's true. That is true. The general consensus is that this film is better.
It had Dennis Leary and Emma Stone playing a teenager. Like,
here's the thing: Emma Stone is great, look, but she wasn't playing a teenager.
Far From Home for me.
No, go ahead, Rashanii. You there?
She's not made to be Gwen Stacy.
Yeah. You there?
Yeah, you're breaking up.
You're breaking up.
Am I breaking up?
Yeah, you're breaking up.
Am I still breaking up now?
No, you're good.
Okay, cool. That was weird. All right. I thought you were breaking up. Something was weird. Okay, my bad. All right, so I have a few questions for everybody. So, Mike, what did you think about Mysterio and Jake? What did you think about two part question? What did you think about Jake Gyllenhaal playing Mysterio, and then what did you think about Mysterio's role in in kayfabe, like in the movie?
I think Jake Gyllenhaal did a great job. I think the two Spider-Man movies have done a fantastic job casting their villains, and the villains, Michael Keaton and Jake Gyllenhaal, both did a really good job. I think that scene where the two scenes where he's like having those illusions and he's like trapped was probably some of the coolest things I've seen in the entire MCU. Just in that one, awesome. In those two moments, that was really good. And as much as I've been saying, I really want to see his iconic villains, and they're doing a good job of making the lesser known, like the lesser, like appealing ones, like the ones that really can't stand alone unless they're in the Sinister Six, like Vulture and Mysterio. They're doing a good job of making them pretty formidable. Although I still want to see the big iconic. I'd love to see the Sinister Six one day with the full roster with even some of the. Like,
that's going to be forever. That's just going to take too long. Yeah, but
I think it'll happen.
Well, Sony was planning on making a Sinister Six film, but we'll see what the hell they do.
Yeah, but is it going to be in the MCU?
Well, See, here's the thing, Sony. So if you watch the credits in this film, Amy Pascal was all over those credits, and she's basically. This is I don't mean to be insulting. I mean, this is kind of an insult, but she's basically Sony's Kevin Feige when it comes to the Spider-Verse and how they're doing everything and putting everything together. And so they wanted to be known that they had a big. They don't want people to think, oh, this is all Marvel and none of us. They wanted to be known that They want people to believe that, oh, this is a collaboration. This is us working together.
But it is definitely 100% all business.
This was, you can tell the creative vision of this was Marvel and not Sony. If you've watched any of the Sony films, with the exception of Into the Spider-Verse, you can tell that there was a difference. So, Big Mike, speaking to what Mike was saying, here's another question. And I'll ask, everybody can chime in on this, but I'll start with Big Mike. Do you think that Mysterio is dead? Or do you think it's an illusion?
See, that's kind of what I loved the most about this. I mean, there was a couple things I loved the most. But one of the things was just that, like, you never really know which Nick Fury you were seeing. Like, you never knew which Mysterio you were seeing. Like, I don't think he's dead. But I was like kind of left questioning, like, what actually happened?
Yeah.
I mean, I know he used that Peter Tingle to kind of stop him, which I thought was funny. But
it's funny all the time, yeah.
But
that was awesome, by the way.
I didn't know like when he was shot, like what he was shot by. I'm assuming it was by the drones, but like you never really know exactly what happened. I don't think he's dead at all though.
Devin?
Are we talking about how I felt about Mysterio? Or are we talking about, like, do I think he's dead? Oh, no, I don't think he's dead because it just makes it perfect for the next movie because I feel like he's the footage of telling what happened and who Spider-Man is. So I really think he's still alive, and it's even better for the next movie.
All right, and I have an even better question for Rashanii. Do you think that... Okay, so Charmaine brought this to my attention, and I was already thinking this when I saw the film, and then she brought it up, and I was like, okay, I guess a lot of people, and I saw somebody else say this online, so I was like, I guess a lot of people are thinking this. So at one point in this film, we saw it in the previews, and then actually we see it more in the film, Mysterio says, oh, I'm from Earth 8, blah, 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 and this is Earth 616, and blah, 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 but turns out that he's lying, and, well, it ends up turning out that he worked for Stark, and that his story wasn't true. But Rashanii, do you think, one, that he was from another Earth, and two, do you think, if not, do you think that, how the hell do you think he knew this was Earth 616? Do you think he was just making shit up? Oh, shit, what happened? Rashanii, you there?
I literally typed it. I'll be right back 2 minutes ago.
I didn't even see that.
And I just typed back. I was on the phone with my mom. You're going to have to edit all this out. And since you're doing that, sup, Stephanie? What was the question?
Do you? Oh man, I wasn't even looking at the chat. My bad. Do you think that? Two questions. Do you think one that that Mysterio was actually from another Earth and that he came a long time ago and started working for Tony Stark? And two, if he wasn't from another Earth, how the hell did he know this was Earth 616? Or do you think he was just making up anything that he could say?
That nigga was making up whatever he needed to say. But kudos to them for going all the way back. Like, yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal wasn't in that movie. He wasn't in that movie way back then. But Peter Billingsley was. I remember him. I remember him being in that movie. And that was dope that they brought him back to play that role.
Are you talking about the guy who Obadiah Stane yelled at?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, by the way, I would like to say that Mysterio is either dead or either not dead or dead, and that dude's going to be the new Mysterio.
I think he's going to take over. I think.
Yeah,
that dude?
That's what that was what I was going to say.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even think about that. That's interesting.
I never thought about that. Because
he's all an illusion. You don't have to have him there, so.
That's true.
Like, this way, if you have, because let's be honest, Mysterio was unhinged to his own team, and his team was probably like, "Yep, can't have that." So let's have somebody who's not going to try and murder us while we try and murder everybody else next time, shall we? So I think Peter is going to have a bigger role, but Jake is still going to be around the movies because he's going to be the outer vision of this illusionist. I think that he's not from another planet. I think that he was from here. I think that he just knew what to say. Like, he made something up.
The old boy wrote the script. One of those guys wrote the script.
And he made sure to give him credit. So, yeah, I think that like, I think, and also the more and more I think about it, the more I'm certain that if Nick Fury had actually really been on Earth, he wouldn't have fallen for any of that shit.
Absolutely not. I agree. Absolutely not. That was, the funny thing is the Nick Fury reveal at the end, that didn't. I kind of figured that out. Like, there was some things I was surprised about in this film, but that one I kind of figured out early in the film because I just watched Captain Marvel not too long ago, and I remember him saying like, no, everyone calls me Fury, not Nick. And so, in the first time you see him, Maria Hill's like calling him Nick or whatever, and I'm just like, Maria Hill would never call him Nick. That's so weird. What is going on? I didn't know he was a Skrull, but I was just like, something's not right here. I thought it was an illusion. I thought it was one of Mysterio's illusions.
Oh shit! No, you're right.
Because I was like, why would he call it? Why would he call it? I didn't know it was a Skrull, but I knew it wasn't him. At that point.
Oh shit!
But
that's mind blowing.
The post-credit scenes of this movie were the best post-credit scenes in the entire movie.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that because there's a lot to talk about there. So here's the thing: I actually think it's possible that we could have another like Thanos situation, and I say that meaning if you remember in Avengers 1, right? Like Loki was being manipulated by Thanos to come down there and do stuff, and so. I think it's entirely possible that there's some big bad that was manipulating Mysterio to give him the idea because we know that here's the thing, we know that this is Earth 616 because if you remember, wasn't it one of those Thor movies when that old man was like figuring out that there's a multiverse and that this is Earth 616 or something like that, and so like the idea that there's a multiverse and that those things happen is entirely possible. In that somebody just gave him that information and he just made up some bullshit to go with it. Or
he just made up some information to go with it, and this is just Spider-Man learning that he needs to grow the hell up and stop trusting everybody so much, and scene.
Yeah.
Well, that's true too. Or he could actually be from another Earth and came a long time ago, just started working for Tony Stark. There's that too. But
that one is the stretchiest stretch that I've ever seen. that of all of the theories you've ever came up with, and you've had some good ones, that one is absurd.
All right,
out of all of them, that's the one that was just like, that's too much.
That's fair.
I also enjoy this more because we got more Nick Fury. I mean, now that Brandon's blowing my mind with that fucking Skrull shit because that shit is real, and Damn. Yeah.
Mhm.
I just love anytime I get Sam in a fucking movie, and like he had lines and he was doing shit like you ghosted me, like that shit was hilarious. Like
Big Mike didn't get his motherfucker, but one
Still
day
wait.
you might get it.
Still wait. I don't think that's ever going to happen if they weren't going to do it in. He said it just wasn't on camera.
He didn't finish.
No, he finished it when he came back. By the way, I'd like to point out that when I said my theory earlier on a previous episode that they would all come back to exactly where they were, I was totally right, and a ton of people died because whoever was on an airplane or a boat is definitely fell to their death or drowned.
Unless they have reappeared on that boat or plane.
That boat is not, or plane is not going to be in that exact spot that
It's
it
not going to
left.
be in the exact spot, but they could just be in that spot.
That's
Okay,
true.
I
Mike
like
is
the
right.
whole blip idea. That was
That
cool.
was
Oh,
so
call it
dope.
the blip. Mhm.
But Brad, can we talk about him for a second?
yes,
Who's Brad?
The Asian guy,
Ben.
Ben.
Little Ben.
Was it Ben
Ben.
or was it Brad?
It's Ben.
Brad.
Which one?
I don't
The
know.
Asian. They came back. Ben.
No,
he
no,
didn't
it was
come back.
Brad.
He was always there.
No, it was Brad.
He came back.
Yeah, Rashanii was right. It was Brad.
Yeah.
The
Brad.
little boy's brother.
His name was Brad. Devin, let
Another
Rashanii
love
go.
and sister Mary Jane.
Oh, that dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, his name was Brad. Okay. I didn't. Okay.
I feel like he's
Yeah.
like 20, right?
It's crazy. But it's like him. I couldn't. And it's because isn't he the dude he looks like he may not be the guy, but he looks like the guy from Crazy Rich Asians. He is.
He is.
There's no way you're going to convince me that he's a high schooler when he's the guy from Crazy Rich Asians.
That is him.
That is definitely him.
That's true.
That was the other issue I had was casting. I love Crazy Rich Asians, and I was just sitting there like, they are not going to pass this dude off as a senior, are they?
He came back ripped, man. You don't know what he did during the blip. He was out here getting it.
He obviously failed because it was 5 years later, and they said that he was a freshman when they first got there, and now he's ripped.
Yeah, that's facts.
I also really like seeing JB Smoove in this movie because I'm a huge
Yes.
JB
I
Smoove
love
fan.
JB Smooth.
I
That is
like
my
seeing
guy.
him punk out. I like seeing him punk out the other teacher. Like I took an Ambien.
Yo,
That is my dude, man. That is always going to be Leon to me from Curb Your Enthusiasm,
oh,
Yeah.
and it is the best.
relax.
For me, he's always going to be
Pootie Tang Free?
no.
What the-
No, the frog from Black Dynamite. Listen to learn, Black Dynamite.
I love JB. That was a good casting. That was a surprising casting, but it was good. I was glad to see him.
I hope they keep him going forward.
Yes, me
Like they
too.
can get rid of the other science teacher.
Big Mike, I'll get you to some of the relationship stuff. What'd you think about the Betty and Ned funny relationship, and then what'd you think about Happy and May?
Well, first things first. I mean, like I said before, my first favorite part was
That motherfucker was born in 1986. Sorry.
Oh damn! Yeah.
Now, my main favorite part of this movie was the fact that it did such a good job of reminding you that this guy is 16 years old. Like we see him as this superhero, like an adult, but he's just like, I just want to be a 16-year-old boy. Like, and I like thinking back to when I was 16, and like, there's no way I would ever want to be some sort of superhero with all that responsibility. So I think they did a great job of showing that to the audience. But that whole Ned and that relationship was hilarious because
That's
I've
what
seen that
happens.
a million times.
Yeah, that's
Like,
what happens.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh! Like we met today, she's the best,
And we're in love.
And then 3 days later, they're like, not really.
I knew that was going to happen.
Oh yeah, you saw it coming, but I love that because it was also like Ned, what was it when they were in Prague when he's like, I'm sorry, like I'm spending so much time with my new girlfriend, but like it's just this is how it is now, so you got to get used to it. So I thought that was hilarious.
So Ned, so for those who don't know, and I don't know if you guys know or not, but Ned Leeds in the comic books is the Hobgoblin.
Yeah.
So do you guys think at some point in
No.
these films he's going to be the
No.
Hobgoblin? I don't think they're going to.
Not unless they do like they did with Lavender Brown in Harry Potter and suddenly make a white person or a black person white. They're going to have to change him out because the Hobgoblin, and this sounds horrible and I apologize, he's slim.
I think we're all thinking it.
Yeah, he's like super slim. There's no way that they'll be able to put Ned into that uniform or into that persona unless they had him do like Mysterio and had a robot controlling, which wouldn't be the actual character. It would be a deviation like what Sam Raimi did with his punk ass shit.
Oh, see, this I don't mean to get started on this. I think we went into this on the Homecoming review, but like the thing that made me most mad about those Sam Raimi films is that they made Spider-Man's webs organic. And some people may say, oh, that's such a small thing. But to me, that is such a big thing because the one thing you see in this film and the one thing you saw in Homecoming and the one thing that's very consistent with the Peter Parker character is that Peter is smart.
Fucking
He's
genius.
a scientist. He's smart. He figures shit out. Of course he built his own web slingers. Like, of course, they played the scene for like a reminisce scene when he was on the plane and Happy was looking at him like Tony, and he was doing the whole thing the computer like Tony does it, and that was like really cool and touching. But it also is like, yeah, Peter's actually really smart, and he would be playing with this shit and figuring this shit out and making his own suit and stuff like that. And the Sam Raimi films,
just like
he was a dork.
I think that was like something that I was really missing from all the other appearances of Spider-Man in this whole series. Was like that because you got the feeling that he relied so heavily on Tony Stark tech to like be any sort of superhero, but like seeing him in this kind of realm, making his own webs and making his own suit and stuff, like I thought it was a really big part of this character that needed to be like fleshed out.
Right, and you hear him like go into his rabbit hole when he's talking to Mysterio about where Earth he's from, and like he just went down the rabbit hole so quick. And like people were like, "What the fuck is this kid talking about?" And
this whole time,
genius.
This whole time, I'm like, "This is just a normal ass kid, average dude who just so happened to get these superpowers." Like, no, he could be the next Tony Stark because he's that smart.
So Rashanii brought this up earlier. Now I'll go to Devin. What'd you think of Zendaya as MJ?
It makes everything the way she plays the character makes you interested in Mary Jane instead of like in the other movies, like this woman is just here to be a damsel in distress and doesn't really have any really meaning to this character, to this story.
Exactly.
She's witty. She's funny. You're like, does she know something the whole time? You're like, yo, does she know that Peter likes her? Does she like Peter? And like she's going along with the Brad thing. Like it was really good, and she became a focal point, a part of the story that you wanted to know more about. So she's great.
I love how they allowed her to figure out who Peter was. Instead of like that's like a small thing, but that's such a big thing to me in these superhero films is that like the people who are closest to you, especially the women, they always play them to be like so surprised, like I can't believe you're Superman. Or like no, but like Lois Lane was always the one that pissed me off. I'm glad in the newest tellings in the comic books and in live action they've done this, but I'm like Lois Lane is supposed to be like this
smart as shit,
like this super reporter in the city, and she doesn't know that Clark Kent is Superman. Like that is so insulting to her intelligence, and so I hate when they do that. But in this film, she was like, "Oh, you're Spider-Man," and it's so good. Because, yeah, of course she figured it out. Like, you saw her last movie noticing that Peter was leaving and doing shit. And then you saw her in this movie noticing that shit. So, of course she would be the one that, because she actually likes Peter. So she's paying attention to Peter. So she will notice that this shit is happening and figure it out. So I thought that was really, really well done.
I think that it's a sign of how great she is in that role that I have yet to hear any white teenage males complaining about her being in that role.
Yeah, you heard a little bit before, like when she first got casted. But since the movies, no, you haven't really heard it because she's been great. And
she's killing it.
And guess what happens when she at some point she's going to do the red hair. I'm telling you, it's going to happen.
Well, why aren't they giving her the real name?
Because she's a different telling. She's not Mary Jane.
Why? That's the only issue I have.
Because she's not
That is
Mary
a good
Jane.
question. There's really nothing to stop her from being that Mary Jane.
Well, because they didn't want. Okay, I think
her name isn't even Mary Jane.
But I mean, it's the same way that Nick is, or that Ned isn't the Ned from the from the comics. I guess maybe.
No, but Ned has his name.
Well, her name in the movie is
why
just...
is she Michelle and not Mary Jane?
Well, in the movie she's MJ, but we know that she's Michelle. I think what it is the Mary Jane character is like the supermodel music person, and they just wanted to make a different character totally. And so they just gave her the same initials but a different name just so they could make it seem like it's a different character. I get what you're saying, though, Mike. That makes sense. But I think they just wanted to have a totally different character. Because, to be fair, she does not act like MJ in
At all.
any MJ telling. Like, I guess the most recent MJ, like that you see in like Invincible Iron Man when she was working for Tony, was kind of similar to this character. But none of the MJs in the past. And here's the thing. If they wanted Zendaya to be that character, she'd be great at that too. Like if you wanted her to be supermodel, like singer woman, she would. I mean, that's who she is. So it's like she would have been great at that as well. So I think they just wanted to do a new telling of the character, and I guess they felt like they needed somebody. They needed her to have a different name. My interesting part is that I am a Gwen Stacy stan. So that's the one thing I don't like. I would have loved them to do Gwen and had her be Gwen Stacy instead of MJ, because to me Gwen was always Peter's true love and his first love, and so it's always weird that she kind of gets erased.
Always did. In all these movies, she's been erased pretty much, except Garfield movies.
Except the Garfield movies, yeah. She's just been erased. So there's that. Okay, so let's get to these after credit scenes. So the first after credit scene is Spider-Man is swinging through the city, which was great. You know, Mike, didn't that feel like the Spider-Man video game?
Yes, it did.
That's what I've been waiting to see for so long.
It felt like you were playing a Spider-Man video game. It was so cool. She's swinging through the city with MJ, and they land, and he drops her off, and then on the big screen in Times Square pops up J. Jonah Jameson.
Ball-headed.
No one else can play that role ever.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, J.K. Simmons is great. And they updated the character, so because you know Marvel's smart, instead of him being like the newspaper guy, no. He's Alex Jones. He is InfoWars man, which is exactly what J. Jonah Jameson would be if he was real. He would be in 2019. He would be InfoWars man, internet TV show man. The only unrealistic thing is that somehow he would get on like Times Square television.
Square, yeah.
But you know, that's not entirely unrealistic in today's
he's
world.
J. Jonah Jameson. He's like a kind of New York local celebrity.
And so he gets up on there and he goes, and of course he's a big fan of Mysterio because he hates Spider-Man. And so he's like, I got this exclusive footage of Mysterio, and Mysterio's like saying like Spider-Man's this menace, and he's the one that controlled all these drones to attack in England. And then it kind of cuts up when he's trying to say who Spider-Man is, and you think, they're gonna save it. And then no, then it comes back and he goes, Spider-Man is Peter Parker, and it shows his picture on the screen.
It is crazy.
That was like, watching that, I did not see that coming. Because most of the after credit scenes are just like, these are little interesting, cool things. But this was like serious, like plot moving shit.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll go around and we'll start with Mike. What did you think about this first after credit scene?
Me or Big Mike?
Mike.
First of all, I was when I saw J.K. Simmons, I think I was so happy. I was like, this is fantastic. I love how in the Garfield movies they just didn't know what to do about his casting, and so they only showed him through emails. Because I feel like they didn't know what to do. So they handled that perfectly. They were definitely like, no one's going to care that we reused him because everybody loves him. That's fine. I thought it was bold to reveal the identity to everybody. And I also really want to know what Flash is going to say when he sees that Spider-Man is Peter Parker.
That's funny, yeah.
But it was fantastic. I think the post-credit scenes were probably my favorite part of the movie.
Wow.
Big
Well,
Mike,
it's just so shocking.
they were
Okay.
shocking. That's true. That's very true. Big Mike, what'd you think?
For me, the only like real part that I was like real shocked by was the name reveal. I feel like I guess in real life you could get away with that first part pretty easily. Just be like, yo, this guy's whole deal was creating fake like CGI in real life. How would that be any different? Like he tricked the entire world into thinking that these monsters were real. Why would this very simple thing be any different? Like, I feel like that's a pretty easy
So
way to
logical.
get away
That's
with
so
that.
logical, right?
I don't know. I just feel like if they really wanted to get away with that, they probably could. But yeah, revealing the name was definitely insane. Like I'm pretty sure the entire theater audibly gasped or like, holy shit, how are they going to get away with this? But I kind of liked it. I think it will kind of play into keeping Peter Parker in New York for the next movie and just being like, yeah, this is who I am. Like
Or he'll leave and he'll just be like, can't be here right now.
Nah,
Oh God, my God, don't do that.
he'll embrace that like Iron Man mentality a little bit more because it's pretty much the same situation except someone else outed him instead of him doing it himself.
Watch, he'll come out of the next movie and be like, I am Spider-Man.
No, he's not going to do that. Rashanii, what'd you think about this first after credit scene?
I like J.K. Simmons. I've liked him since Oz, and I thought that, like y'all have already said, he's the only person who can play this role perfectly. I think they had to do that with the name and everything because in the comics they did it in Civil War.
I knew you were going to bring this up.
And since Civil War already happened, they kind of like got to get him caught up with what happened because I just feel like now that in the villain that was at the end of Homecoming in the extra scenes, I think it was Scorpion. Now he's gonna know exactly who it is. Like he'll see that on TV in jail, and so he'll be able to get out and come after him. And it's just gonna lead to
Six.
Yeah, exactly. This is all pointing right in that direction, which I'm excited for because that means they're finally gonna have a good villain. Fuck you, Tom Hardy. Fuck you, whoever played him in the Sam Raimi movies.
Oh, that was Topher Grace from that 70s show, Eric.
Yeah, fuck him too. Here's what I want. Here's all that I'm asking for. You do this, and I promise I'm happy. Sony, here's what I want you to do. Just stick to cartoons.
Yeah.
Stick to cartoons. Just give all the characters over.
Yes.
Just give all the characters over to Marvel. You'll still make your money. Just stick to cartoons because I promise you, Sony, if you put together a Maximum Carnage cartoon and it's R-rated and people are getting murdered over and over again, I'd watch that. But I'm not going to watch your movie where Carnage pops up because it's fucking PG-13 and it shouldn't be that way.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think Venom 2 is going to be PG-13. That's the thing. Here's the thing. Woody Harrelson as Cletus Cassidy is fantastic casting. I just have no faith in them to make that good. None. Exactly. Zero faith, despite the fantastic that is incredible casting. And I think I have no faith in it. But yeah, that is a great point, Rashanii. Devin, what'd you think?
I was ready for it. I mean, like you said, already having Civil War. I actually did read some of Civil War.
Well, here's the thing. Rashanii brought this up. So in Civil War, they basically had
himself.
Well, yeah, they had the Superhero Registration Act, so they called a press conference, and Peter came out and told everybody he's Spider-Man. Here's the thing that people don't talk about, right? So nobody knows who Spider-Man is now in the comic books because
that nigga sold his soul to the devil.
He sold his soul to Mephisto so that he could get it covered up so he could save his family, and it also cost him his relationship with MJ, which is why he's no longer with MJ. They're not going to do that in this film. In these films, they're not going to do that. So whatever
I'd be happy if they did, it would be like, no, really, if they did that, it would be just so dope to see that happen. But in order for it all to come together, it would have to be like way off in the future. Yeah. So I know it wouldn't happen.
That would be interesting to see how they played a Mephisto character in the MCU. Like that'd be wild.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It would be dope because if they brought him out, the next I want to see Mr. Sinister.
Oh, we're going to get Mr. Sinister at some point.
Yeah.
Like maybe like 7, 8, 9 years down the road. But yeah, I think we're gonna get. Can you imagine seeing Mr. Sinister? You know, by the way, I hate getting in the Fox movies. They tease Mr. Sinister in that goddamn Apocalypse movie.
They did.
They teased Mr. Sinister for what? They knew they were making Dark Phoenix next. Why would you even tease him?
I'm so upset.
By the way, at the time when that movie came out, they were making Dark Phoenix was supposed to be 2 films. So at the time when they teased Mr. Sinister, they had no plans of doing Mr. Sinister because they had New Mutants, which he wasn't going to be in New Mutants. They had Deadpool, which he wasn't going to be in Deadpool 2. And then they had 2 Dark Phoenix movies. So the next 4 movies that were coming out was not going to have Mr. Sinister anywhere involved in those films. So what were you teasing them for? So I'm sorry I got off on that tangent, but yeah, I'm sorry. But yeah, I agree with everybody, what everybody said on that. And so the second after credit scene was Nick Fury and Maria Hill driving in the car, and then the next thing you know, they go back to them and then they're Skrulls. So they basically took off their shapeshifting, and then you go, oh shit, they were Skrulls.
See, and that's, you were saying how you had a theory, but you weren't actually, like, you weren't sure that they were Skrulls when she was calling Fury Nick. I thought that they weren't who they thought they were when she was getting on him about how he got fooled.
Oh.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't think Maria Hill would have ever said, yeah, he got fooled, then it really just made fun of him about it. But a Skrull, the wife of Talos, would have.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay. So that was my moment.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that's a good point. And so then they're driving, and then Talos calls Nick Fury on the phone. Nick is chilling at this beach, for what you think is the beach. And it did look like Tahiti. That is true. It looked like Tahiti from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That is a fact. And so by the way, if you're watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. now,
oh my God,
there is something going on. Like, something is going on here, and I cannot wait. But that's a separate conversation. And so then
might catch up.
He's basically like, I'm sorry, man. We were just supposed to, like, give him the damn glasses, but then we got caught up with this whole Mysterio thing. We fucked up. My bad. And then the real Nick Fury is like, all right, then, whatever. Get back to work, whatever. So then they cut to Nick Fury, and he walks out of this room like the Star Trek. What was it called? The Star Trek
Enterprise.
No, what was the deck called? The
holodeck deck.
Holodeck, yes, the Star Trek. He basically walks out of like the holodeck back into this big ass fucking ship of Skrulls, and they look like they're preparing for something. Now, I have a theory. I have 2 theories about what this is. Yes,
Secret Invasion.
Maybe, but I'm more so with Rashanii. But we'll start with Big Mike. The Big Mike and Devin read the least comic books on here, so we'll start with Big Mike. What did you think about seeing that last after credit scene?
I was excited, but also very much felt like I was in the dark. I'm like, I know I'm missing something, and I feel like I should be more excited than I am. But I'm just like, I don't know what any of this really means, and I feel like I should.
Okay.
That was basically my mentality throughout it.
Devin, what about you?
I watched the cartoon, so I know about the Secret Wars. So I was like, okay, we're gonna get a Secret Wars movie, and that's gonna be the next one.
You thought this was Secret Wars?
No, but I mean, like,
you thought this was leading to Secret Wars? I didn't think that at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think they can do it. I don't know if the next movie is gonna be Secret Wars, but I mean, they're having. You mean
like the next big Avengers movie,
right?
Yeah, okay.
They can leave the groundwork for the Secret Wars movies.
Okay, Mike, what'd you think?
I thought it was Secret Invasion, but I feel like those Skrulls I don't think are going to be bad, or maybe they will. I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty confused too. But the biggest thing I would say is you got an army of Skrulls and they're taking over people's bodies. It's whether or not Nick said they could. That's Secret War. That's Secret Invasion to me.
Oh yeah, whatever.
All right. I'm more of Rashanii, so I know what he's about to say. But what'd you think about it, Rashanii?
Oh, we about to look. I walked out of that movie theater chuckling, like not chortling, chuckling to myself, and just felt like the biggest nerd. And it made me feel happy because I'm not that nerd. I'm not that dude. But look, goddamn it, look, niggas. Mike, Big Mike, and niggas, look, look. Here's what's about to happen in this motherfucker. You already got the ass Guardians of the Galaxy out there. You already got all of these niggas about to go into space, and meanwhile, Nick Fury is about to create Sword and just bust out with the Eternals on your ass, and it is they're going to discover the Eternals, and it is about to be just so lit. Oh my god! Sword is
yeah, go ahead, Rashanii.
It's the intergalactic defense force that we have to protect Earth. And when I say that the first thing they're going to find is the Eternals, and then they're going to find there's this dude that knows a ton of kung fu. Like, it is so amazing what's about to happen. And they set up Phase 4 perfectly. That's why I was excited about that scene.
For those who don't know, SWORD stands for the Sentient Word Observation and Response Department. Essentially, is exactly what Rashanii said. They're basically like S.H.I.E.L.D. for large cosmic threats. They're based in space on a big-ass satellite headquarters, and they basically are there. They're essentially what like Alpha Flight is now with Captain Marvel and like the Ultimates are now, but before that. And essentially what they did was they were there to protect from big-ass cosmic threats. So like when Galactus is coming, or the Celestials are coming, or other Eternals are coming, or the Leandra and the Gladiator and the Shi'ar Empire. Anybody?
Wait! Fucking Adam Warlock.
Adam Warlock
is still floating around somewhere. And did we forget that in Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2, she literally created Adam Warlock?
So of course, Sam Jackson. After Thanos comes and invades the Earth from space and something so large that it could end civilization, of course, Nick Fury would be like, we're not. This ain't happening again without us knowing some shit. So of course he would create something like Sword. But here's the other thing that kind of ties Mike's thing in. Did you know one of the first things that happened in Secret Invasion was that undercover Skrull infiltrated the SWORD headquarters and blew that shit up to smithereens. So, seeing all those Skrulls on what we might think is the SWORD headquarters is very, very interesting.
Stories eventually.
Very, very interesting. So, here's the thing. Marvel is confirmed to be at San Diego Comic-Con next week. Here's the other thing. WB dropped out and Sony dropped out, which tells me one of two things. Either one is benign, they just didn't really have anything to talk about. Or two, they got word that Marvel's going to drop some really, really big news, and they're not really trying to fuck with that. And so Marvel's going to be in Hall H next week in San Diego Comic-Con, and I would imagine we're going to get at least the Phase 4 beginnings. The beginning of Phase 4 and the entire Phase 4.
They're going to announce Phase 4 at San Diego.
Yeah, so I think we're going to get an idea of what's to come. I don't think they're going to name that next Avengers film because I think the name of the next Avengers film will give away too much. But I do think we're going to get some ideas of what's to come, and I think Rashanii hit it on the head. And Mike, I think everybody's kind of in the right pathway. So this technically, this was like the last movie in Phase 3, according to Kevin Feige. This technically was not Phase 4. So the first Phase 4 movie, I think, is either going to be Eternals. It's going to be Eternals because Black Widow is going to be a prequel type film. So Eternals is going to be set in the past too, probably. But the first moving forward Marvel film that we're going to get is going to be Eternals next year in 2020, and so. Yeah, we're going full cosmic, it looks like. So let's see what happens. Before we get out of here, we got to score this film. So we'll start with Big Mike. What do you give this film out of 10?
I'm gonna go with an 8.2.
8 point what?
8.2. I think it's 8.2.
Okay. That's fair, Mike.
I think it was good, not great. But like I said at the beginning, it's the new standard for these standalone films.
Okay, yeah, because I was about to say, just all the little side things we could talk about, how great Sam was, how great Zidane was. how the blip can't hang. Like all that makes it like great to me. Like just a great storytelling event. Like, but it's
So what
not.
do you give it?
Oh, I'll give it a 9. It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't Avengers because it can't be a perfect 10 because Avengers summed up everything. Had sentimental value, but like it was a 9. I definitely loved it. I loved it. Like I said, this is my favorite one as far as a whole movie put together.
You enjoyed it the most.
Yeah.
That's fair. Mike, what'd you give it?
I give it an 8.
Why?
It's kind of for the same reason that Mike. It doesn't blow my mind. I think this movie was very predictable. You know Mysterio is going to be bad. You know he'll probably get MJ. No, with the exception of the post-credit scenes, the movie was pretty predictable.
Okay. Rashanii, what do you give it?
Okay, so I think we've done this before. I think I've said this before, and it's always controversial, but I don't give a fuck, so let's go ahead and do this again. The number 1 Marvel movie of all time, in my own opinion, is Thor Ragnarok.
Okay.
Followed up by Black Panther, Endgame, Infinity War, and then Homecoming.
Mm-hmm. That's fair, too, by the way. It's not, ridiculous.
This movie doesn't rank up with any of those, and yet it's somewhere in between number 6 and number 10. Therefore, I feel justified in giving it a 7.5. Okay. If they had just hid the character a little bit better, or if they had just
Mysterio,
I don't know. Yeah, like once we saw once look, literally as soon as folks saw the previews and saw Mysterio, we were like, oh, he's gonna fuck him over. Oh like, yeah, niggas literally said they were gonna fuck him over from like the first time you saw him in the previews during like February. Like we knew this. Like right when they showed Mysterio, people were like, yeah, he's gonna, and then the syndrome thing started and all this kind of stuff. This was a good movie. It was a great way to close out the phase 3, but it's a good movie the same way, honestly, the Ant-Man was a good movie.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
It was just tying up loose ends.
It makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
And you just it's literally, to me, where Homecoming was something that was bombastic and amazing and it was a new experience and all that, Far From Home was a palate cleanser from the Endgame.
Yeah. That sums it up right. That's really good.
That's fair.
So 7.5.
I give it a 8. I give it an 8.5. I enjoyed this movie a lot. By the way, we forgot to mention this, but Marissa Tomei is 54 years old.
And looking,
she can get it.
Bomb.
50, and still has no ass.
50, yeah, that's true.
Also, Happy, why are you macking on the woman that Tony Stark was macking on? And Tony, why were you macking on Aunt May when you were married to Pepper?
I mean, she got that swag. She got that sauce.
Also, just for Mike and Big Mike who don't know anything about this, you realize all the women from A Different World are like in their 50s and still are fine.
Yep.
Which is incredible that they were on TV in 1988, 89, around that time, 90.
You know what else happened in 1988? Brad was born.
Hold on, I thought you said 86.
86? Was it 86?
Brad was watching A Different World. He was watching A Different World with his parents.
Bro, like seriously, like yeah, he's an ageless beauty. Yeah, he aged well, but he didn't age teenager well. There's no way that you're gonna put Peter. One funny thing that did happen in this movie, though, I do want real quick. One hilarious thing that happened in this movie was where Flash was talking shit about the airplane, like this isn't like the bus you ride on, and MJ was like, he got blipped, so he's 16, not 21. Oh,
that was good.
MVP of this movie so hard. Yeah. I look, because I go to Regal exclusively to see my movie. And I saw Men in Black International.
Oh.
It was good. I want to do on it. Nobody else saw it. I
didn't
Oh
see
enjoyed
no,
it.
I
it.
saw. I thought
Did
it
y'all
was
do a review on it yet?
No, I
No,
didn't
I
see
just
it.
thought.
I didn't watch
Okay.
I thought it was awful.
Um,
I watched
so
45 minutes of it. I'm about to I can't watch anymore.
you didn't get
So.
the Pawnee. Pawnee was hilarious. But Men in Black, and then Spider-Man, and then Angry Birds Part 2. If I see all three of those movies, I get all three of them for free. So I don't have to pre-order Spider-Man. I'm happy about that.
Oh, that's dope.
It will be one of those ones that I wavered on whether or not I was going to buy Captain Marvel. I ended up not buying it because it was inconsequential to the overall of the MCU.
Understandable.
And I kind of feel like Far From Home is in that same vein. Like it was standalone, but it had little merits that were connected to other things. But when you're saying the thing that connects to other things is literally in the end credits, then it's a standalone movie. The more and more I think about it, the more I'm like, if I hadn't seen this movie, I still would have been able to see the rest of these movies without any issue. That's the same way I felt when I watched Captain Marvel. If I watched all these other movies,
well, I will say the thing about Captain Marvel is if you watch Avengers Endgame, if you didn't watch Captain Marvel, you'd be like, why is everybody so excited about her coming? Because you wouldn't know how powerful she is. You would just be like, who?
I read the comics. I would have
well,
known.
yeah. But like the average moviegoer would have been like, who is this chick? And why is she so confident that she can destroy Thanos by herself? Yeah. Which was hilarious. Before we get out.
Oh, also the other thing that gave him away was when Peter was like, "Can't we get Captain Marvel?" And he was like, "Don't invoke her name."
Yeah, that was good. Hey, that's another sign that it was a scroll.
That's what I'm saying. That was another sign.
They were seeing a lot of that shit.
That shit is mind blowing, yo.
Because of course,
I was just enjoying the fucking film, and then like, that's real shit. Like I was like, why would he say that? Like,
don't invoke her name.
Yo, thank you guys. Thank you, Brandon and Rashanii. Like, because now it makes so much more sense. So, oh man.
All right, before we get out, Rashanii, what do you got on the single simulcast this week?
Actually, this week, Shantae and I talked about breatharians.
Who is that?
Breatharians are people who say that they don't need food to survive, just air.
What?
Hold on.
Hold on, what?
Thing.
Yeah. It's a whole thing. We talked about it on the latest episode. It's really good. So, like, her whole mindset is, she just that's how she does. Just breathe. Just inhale the world. That's her whole thing. Yeah, it was great.
Okay.
So
also, I started my new business, First Level Boss. So if anybody's interested in podcast producing, editing, consultations, mentoring,
I don't know why it took you so long to do this.
Jesus. Me neither.
I have
but
no idea.
Yeah, we got that. I do that, and my services are pretty cheap because I'm in-house shop. So whereas other people are charging like $600, $700.
Excuse me, how much?
Mentoring, I charge $25. There's a place that charges like $500 for like production. I charge
for podcast production.
Yeah.
What?
So
I mean, there's a whole white woman that has a commercial about her producing podcasts.
Listen, if I cared enough to have like great editing, it's not. I don't want to say it's not that difficult, but it's also something that I don't need to pay $600 for. Like, I could take the time to do great editing.
$25 for it.
Yes. I mean, I'd pay more than $25, but yes, $25 is a great price for that. But come on, dog.
I mean,
$600.
I love doing it, and I just want to help people. That's why the name of the company is First Level Boss. I'm not the biggest boss. I'm not out there trying to destroy people or alter worlds or anything like that. I'm just trying to prepare you for the next step. Like after you fight that first level boss in any video game, you have all of the ideas and tools needed to be able to be successful. You might get other weapons, you might get other armor or something like that, but you have the ideas of all of the moves you need to be successful in that game. So because of me, you're able to go forward and conquer people. I'm that first level boss.
Dope,
So
man.
definitely go check
Hey,
that out.
yeah.
That is a long time coming. Rashanii has helped me out so much and this show out so much. So if y'all like this show, a lot of it is due to his help. So go talk to him if you're thinking about starting a podcast. Hey, Big Mike, there's not another MCU movie for the rest of the year. So would you like to join us next month for? Actually, is it this month? Hold on, give me a second. It might be this month. Is next month. Would you like to join us for Hobbs and Shaw?
Oh, Black Superman.
I think that's going to be up to Mike whether or not he wants to invite me on things.
Oh, shit.
If he just wants to hide me away for a while. I'm going to have to ask him.
We'll be there.
But I would be honored.
We'll be there.
I am absurdly excited for that film.
Me too. I don't even know why, but I am.
I can't believe I'm so excited.
Because it's gonna laugh. Yeah, just gonna laugh the
It's gonna be. I actually kind of want to. If Big Mike is down, I kind of want to show up to the theater like a little tipsy and just.
Oh yeah.
Do you realize that is going to be that is the Fast and Furious foray into the superhero genre? The villain literally has superpowers.
He's black.
This is going to be so ridiculous. I cannot imagine how ridiculous this film is going to be. And I stopped watching the trailers after the first trailer because why do I need to watch any other trailers?
I watched one more because when I went to see Spider-Man this weekend, they had a different version of the trailer, and it made me even more excited for it because the first one I saw was Idris saying I'm Black Superman and all that kind of shit. The second one I saw was Idris on his, I don't even know if it's AI motorcycle or remote control motorcycle, but it showed him sliding underneath a fucking truck.
That's the new one.
I pissed. Like, literally, I am here for this movie. And if they are willing to keep the cars to a minimum and keep all the talk of family to a minimum, I will be an avid supporter because Rock and Jason Statham should have done this movie years ago.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. I was like, oh, the Rock leaving the Fast series, that's not going to be as fun. Listen, they've added Kevin Hart and John Cena to Fast 9. That is going to be absolutely ridiculous as well. Like, I cannot wait to see those films.
Speaking of Kevin Hart, I'm calling my space right now for Christmas when we do Jumanji Part 2 or Jumanji Part 3, whatever it may be.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
What about Big Mike? The little kid movie. What was that?
The
Bad Boys.
The Good Boys.
The Good Boys. Yeah. You got to come for that.
I forgot about that. That's going to be great. We got a lot. We still got summer movies coming up. So, yeah, that'll be good. So, definitely thank you guys for listening. Make sure you go subscribe to the Single Simulcast. Hit up Rashanii about First Level Boss if you're interested in starting a podcast or getting help with your podcast. You can subscribe to us.
Yes, again, we do mentoring, consulting. We don't have to produce your show. I will literally listen to your show and write out a point-by-point list about things that may be able to be improved and things like that. And then we do a video conference where we talk about exactly what needs to be worked on. It's just a consult. I don't want you to think that I'm trying to change your show or make your show into my own mindset. It's just I want to help you be the best you can be before you go to that next level.
Yes, so definitely hit him up. I know we have podcasters who listen to the show. But you can subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, anywhere you get your podcast at. Leave us a 5-star review. We've been getting some 5-star reviews, but they haven't had no writing. It's just people clicking 5 stars. We thank you for that. But leave us a little message. We really appreciate those as well. So thank you guys for listening. And Rashanii, Devin, and I are actually going to do a Shaft review. So that'll be out with this review as well. So make sure you check that out as well. And we will talk to you next week. Thank you.